Are the Gospels eyewitness accounts? We're told that the authors of the Gospels were eyewitnesses or were one step removed. Let's investigate the claim for the oldest Gospel, Mark. We're told that Peter was an eyewitness and Mark wrote it all down. We're going to need a timeline to keep this all straight. Jesus died in 30. Mark was written in 70, rough dates. So how do we know that Mark was one step removed from the events that he documented? Because Papias said so. Papias was a bishop in Asia Minor and an avid documenter of oral history from the early church. His book Interpretations was written after 120. That's a long period of oral history. But it gets worse. How do we know what Papias said? We don't have the original of Papias, nor do we have a copy. Enter Eusebius, who quotes Papias in his book Church History. Problem is, that was written 200 years later. That's a long time with unknown copyists as middlemen along the way. And how do we know what Eusebius said? The oldest copies of his book are from the 10th century, though there is a Syriac translation from 462. That, of course, presents more opportunity for hanky-panky with the manuscript. Wow, that's a long and tortured journey. Let's recap. We're told that Peter witnessed the life of Jesus. He told Mark, and 40 years after the crucifixion, Mark wrote it all down. Then there's 50 years for this account to be told from person to person until Papias recorded it. Then 200 years of another black hole until Eusebius read what Papias wrote. Then another 140 years with a translation thrown in until our best evidence of this tale. But it's worse than that. Eusebius didn't think much of Papias as a historian. You can judge for yourself. You know that Judas died by hanging himself. Oh yeah, and also by falling and bursting open. Somehow apologists assure us that these stories are not contradictory, but never mind. Papias has yet another version. He said that Judas tried but failed to hang himself, and then his head swelled up so large that he couldn't pass down a street wide enough for a hay wagon. Is this story ridiculous? If so, why imagine that any of the stories that he documented are reliable, including the one about the authorship of Mark? But let's not let Eusebius get too smug. He's also criticized as a historian. What about other chains of evidence for the Gospels being eyewitness accounts? They're no better. Irenaeus used our naming for the Gospels, but he wrote in 180, and our oldest copy of that document is from the 10th century. Tertullian did the same, but his original was later, as is our oldest copy. We have papyrus gospel fragments that use our titles, though they're not much help either. For example, the oldest Gospel according to Luke is from roughly 200. And so on. We grope for evidence to back up the claim that the Gospels document eyewitness accounts, but perhaps only faith will get you there.